Today we're doing a breakdown on Shockrock. So let's start with his attacks. So I've actually made a few changes since the last time I showcased him, so I'll be pretty specific about that. First off, he has a new first attack. It's now called Hammer Smack. It's a lot like his second attack, I just mirrored it basically. That's because his original first attack is now a special attack you can use by clicking L2. I feel like as a ranged attack, it should have its own button, and there it is. Sorry for the glitching idle animation, that's a glitch I'm working on fixing. But yeah, so there is Stretch Slap, and that is his only special attack, and it does 140 damage. Then we have this attack, Hammer Smack, and this. You see the Pan Slap? The animations are pretty wonky. I'm definitely going to change them up, but those, I believe the first one deals, oh no, both do 160 damage, yeah. And then his final third attack, or his final attack in that combo is Hammer Smash, where he uses hammers on both hands, and he smashes down, and that does 280 damage. Then he has two offshoot attacks like most aliens do. This called Knife Dance. I think I got that from a Dead Cells thing. The Dead Cells is a game. I think there's like a thing in the game called that. Where he makes his hands in these little knife things. And then we have Fly Swat as his final one. And so, Knife Dance is 210 damage, and Fly Swat does 280. Okay, let's get into his special moves. First off, we have this. Knock Knock. I think it's a fun name. This is a really cool looking attack. And I believe it does 100 damage, but also gathers enemies together. Basically, he creates these shock walls, and he pushes enemies into them. Next, we have this. It was originally called Lightning Wave, but I haven't come up with a new name yet. Basically, he creates this shock ball around him, and by interacting with enemies, they get dealt damage, and it is 100 damage every second that this deals. So basically, you have to get up into enemies' faces with this. And then here is his down special move, his third one. It's called Shock Box, and this is probably my favorite. Basically, he creates this electric box in front of him, and if there are any nearby enemies around, it will teleport to that enemy and stay there. And so it locks the enemy in place for a little bit so you can deal damage to them. And as you can see, the player can walk through them just fine. I think it's a really fun idea. Definitely my favorite special move of his. And then his final one, it doesn't deal any damage, by the way. His final one is this, called Electric Beam, where he shoots electricity, or beams, whatever, starting from down and he goes up. And now that does 10 damage per blast. Oh, we're back to Ben. And by per blast, I mean each one of those little bits, as you can see, the further away they get, they separate. Each one of those does 10 damage. So if you can get a bunch of enemies, you can do some pretty good damage with that. And that is everything to do with Shockrock except three things. One, his block, which is this. He brings up an electric wall. I think it's a pretty interesting one. It's basically directly taken from an episode of the reboot I found. I think Decibel was in it. I think his name's Decibel. Yeah. Next, for his dodge, he has like a charge type thing. It's pretty simple. And then finally, he has a very interesting thing. He can grapple. Now the animation's clunky, but whenever you're near any grapple points, which are very present in all of his levels, you can just grapple over to them. It's super fun, and one of the most unique mechanics in the game. Now that is everything to do with Shockrock besides his stats. I'll show those real quick. So, he has lower speed than most aliens. As you can see, it's 1.6 instead of 2, and 4.8 instead of 6. He has the same jump height and deceleration acceleration as the rest, same with turn speed. But yeah, that's everything to do with Shockrock. I hope you liked the video, and I will see you next time in one day. Bye everyone.